At the beginning of the film, thousands of protesters are demonstrating in front of a government building against the current governor, Sandro Coria. Governor Coria was under investigation for corruption and embezzlement of public funds, sparking widespread outrage among much of the population. The protesters clash with the police and throw objects at the building, and the governor hides under a table, where a masked man finds him. A few days earlier, the DEA, Armed Special Operations Unit, prepares and heads to Governor Coria's mansion, where they find him drinking coffee. They arrest him and soon take him to DEA headquarters. Agents Edu and Miguel escort him to the interrogation room, while their colleagues congratulate them on capturing the corrupt governor. There, Miguel and Edu tell him they have evidence of his corruption and embezzlement, but not only that, they also have a recording of the governor vowing to kill anyone who stands in his way or reveals his crimes. However, the man knows he is above the law and holds too much power to end up in prison. Coria even enjoys an incredible lunch during the interrogation while he waits for his lawyer to arrive. After a while, his lawyer enters the room and tells him he has already spoken with his contacts in the prosecutor's office and managed to get him placed under house arrest for the duration of the investigation, but assures him he will soon be completely free. Meanwhile, the police commander meets with the other officers and tells them the same thing, saying the prosecutor's office does not have enough evidence to incriminate Governor Coria. At the end of the day, Officer Miguel returns home and finds his daughter sleeping on the sofa. He carries her to her bed, and as he does so, the girl wakes up, wishes her father good night, and congratulates him on his work catching criminals. The next morning, Miguel goes to work, where the commander informs him that the DEA has been removed from the governor's case, and it will now be handled by the military police. Miguel, who had investigated and gathered evidence for several months to incriminate Governor Coria, becomes furious and is certain this is a ploy by the governor to secure his release, but there is nothing they can do. When his shift ends, Miguel goes to see his daughter, who was with his ex-wife, and brings her a t-shirt as a gift so they can go together to watch a soccer game. The little girl gets excited and puts on the Brazil jersey, and after taking a photo, Miguel and his daughter rush to the game. As they approach the stadium, the atmosphere is very cheerful and festive, but as they walk through the cars, Miguel's daughter is shot. He rushes her to the hospital, where doctors take her away on a stretcher but order Miguel to wait outside. Minutes later, he grows impatient and enters the intensive care unit, where he sees several patients in critical condition, but none are receiving medical attention. The conditions at the hospital are terrible, and as he walks, he finds his daughter Alicia lying in the hallway. The doctor apologizes and tells him she cannot be treated immediately, since the hospital doesn't have enough operating rooms or surgeons for everyone. Due to severe bleeding and lack of treatment, little Alicia survived only a few seconds before dying tragically alongside her father. Shortly afterward, Miguel's ex-wife arrived at the hospital and was devastated to learn of her daughter's death. That night, Edu offers his condolences to Miguel and offers to help him find Alicia's killer. However, Miguel says it's impossible to know who did it, and that the killer isn't the only one responsible for her death. The poor conditions at the hospital and the lack of staff were what prevented his daughter from being saved, and that is the fault of government corruption. Shortly thereafter, the governor is released on bail due to lack of evidence, and a few days later he issues a statement to the people, announcing that he will run in the next election for president. Coria promises to increase the budget for the healthcare sector, improving the well-being of the people. Upon learning this, and tired of the lies and corruption of the system, Miguel infiltrates the crowd of protesters and begins attacking the police, covering his face with a gas mask. Thanks to his special forces training, and with the help of other protesters, he overcomes security and begins scaling the building. Upon entering, Miguel takes out the governor's bodyguards, then finds Coria hiding under the table. He ends up killing him because he feels Coria is primarily responsible for his daughter's death. The next day, Miguel returns to work, and the DEA commander orders the agents to investigate everything about the protests and find the person responsible for the governor's death. The man tells them they've managed to arrest some suspects, and Miguel recognizes one of the women, whom he spoke with during the demonstration. The woman also recognizes him, so Miguel quickly volunteers to interrogate her and takes her to another room. She introduces herself as Nina and says she's a programmer. Nina tells him she knows who he is and has a video of Miguel at the protest on her cell phone. Miguel doesn't have many options, so he quickly releases her. That night, Miguel analyzes the video and Nina's information, discovering the address of her apartment. When he goes there, Miguel runs into Nina on the street and asks her to get in the car. Miguel had Governor Coria's laptop in his possession, and he asks Nina to help him investigate the governor's embezzlement of public health funds and corruption within the hospital system. She hesitates, but finally agrees and hacks into Coria's laptop, finding a wealth of information on the crimes and everyone involved. Without a second thought, Miguel feels that they are responsible for the hospitals being in such a deplorable state, and consequently responsible for his daughter's death, so he prepares to kill all the politicians and officials involved in the corruption. Miguel goes after each of them, wearing the same gas mask as a disguise. News of the politicians' murders makes headlines in every newspaper. Shortly after, Miguel goes to Nina and asks her to find all the people who have been funding the campaigns of these corrupt officials. Nina refuses, but Miguel offers to reduce the sentence of Nina's mother, who is in prison. She doesn't know what to do, so Nina visits her mother in jail and asks her about the value of the truth. Her mother replies that the truth is just an illusion, since the truth for one person may not be the same for another. After this conversation with her mother, Nina decides to help Miguel find the politician's sponsors, discovering that the main one is a millionaire named Gomez. So, Nina hacks into the surveillance camera system of a building where Gomez is set to meet with a minister named Regina. Meanwhile, at Day headquarters, Edu is in charge of the investigation into the serial killer of corrupt politicians, who is none other than Miguel, known as the Awakener. Miguel pretends to help Edu with the investigation so as not to arouse suspicion, but all he does is hinder the case. A short while later, Miguel prepares to kill the sponsors. Edu reviews the files and deduces that the Awakener's next target is Minister Marta Regina. The young man tries to warn Miguel, but naturally he can't get through to him, so he heads to the building alone. Upon arriving, Edu manages to find the Awakener, and since Miguel doesn't want to hurt his friend, he tries to escape, managing to lose Edu but not before getting shot. Miguel quickly goes to Nina, who helps him treat his wound. The next day, Miguel and Edu present their reports at headquarters, where they demonstrate that Minister Regina is linked to acts of corruption, and her campaign is being financed by Gomez. However, the commander approaches and dismisses the entire investigation, telling them to set the case aside since there are now more important matters to investigate. This confirms that the commander was also being bribed by Gomez, and, fed up with the situation, Miguel resolves to take down Gomez with his own hands. Shortly after, shows Gomez having dinner at his home with several people who are involved in some way with the government. Gomez's son was also there, but he feels uncomfortable and goes to his mother. Here we learn that Gomez wanted his son to be president, but the young man reveals to his mother that he isn't ready for it. Gomez, who heard this, tries to calm him down and encourage his son, but at that moment we see Miguel in position, who quickly shoots and kills the young man. Miguel killed Gomez's son so that the father would learn from his mistake and admit his guilt, but it turns out that Gomez has decided to use his son's death to his advantage, winning the sympathy of the people and running for president. On the other hand, we learn that Gomez is also involved in the investigation into the murders of his colleagues, hiring a man named Siqueira for that purpose. After a brief investigation, Siqueira discovered that the alarm clock has a partner, and believing that the killer's partner was Nina's boss, he went to her workplace to kill him. When Nina arrives at work, she discovers that her boss is dead and quickly runs to Miguel's house. However, unbeknownst to her, Nina was being followed by Siqueira and his men, who forced their way into Miguel's hideout. A fierce fight soon breaks out between the two sides, and Miguel tells Nina to run. He puts on the mask and takes on Siqueira's men, but in the chaos, Siqueira manages to take Nina hostage and offers Miguel a deal if he wants to save her life. Siqueira orders Miguel to kill a presidential candidate named Julia Machado. Miguel has no choice but to accept, and shortly after, the police arrive at the boys' hideout, where neighbors had reported the shooting. Edu and his team, who were in charge of the investigation, soon discover that this was the wake-up call's hideout, but Edu is even more surprised when he discovers the killer's true identity, none other than his friend Miguel. Realizing that the Despertador's target was Gomez, Edu and his team rush to the venue where the presidential candidate's debate is to take place. Miguel also goes there, determined to kill Julia, and as he prepares and takes aim, Edu appears and stops him. The two fight, but neither wants to kill the other, and Edu pleads with him to put an end to all this madness. Meanwhile, Nina, who had been kidnapped by Siqueira, takes advantage of a moment of distraction to seriously injure the man. Later, Miguel is arrested for the murder of the corrupt officials. Edu seats Miguel in the interrogation room and brings his ex-wife in to speak with him in an attempt to extract some information. However, the woman only tells him that their daughter would be deeply ashamed of her father if she saw everything he's done out of revenge. Some time later, while serving his sentence in prison, Miguel learns that Gomez has won the election. At that moment, one of Miguel's superiors at the Day arrives to interrogate him, but Miguel manages to kill the man and escape. The young man takes some weapons and ammunition and quickly heads to the Parliament building, where Gomez and his colleagues are celebrating their election victory. Without thinking twice, Miguel enters the Parliament and kills several of Gomez's guards and colleagues. When he finally reaches Gomez's office, the man tells Miguel that corruption will never disappear from the world, because greed and the desire for power are basic human traits. Miguel knows that's true, but he shoots Gomez anyway. Soon, several guards corner him and try to stop him at gunpoint. However, Miguel had a contingency plan and had prepared a bomb that he left in the car. With nothing else to do, Miguel triggers the bomb's detonator, causing the device to explode and bring down the entire building. The next day, as rescue workers and firefighters search for survivors among the rubble, they find only the alarm clock's mask, but no trace of Miguel's body. The film ends with the alarm clock alive, aiming at its next target from the top of a building. Thanks for watching the video. If you made it this far and enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe. See you next week.